Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to another episode of Wings, Beers, and Tears, your favorite DMV sports podcast. We are back and better than ever on another February dreary day here in the DMV, and it kind of reflects a little bit of the attitude of some of our sports teams, but we will get into that this evening. It is your usual cast of characters here. I am Todd, joined as always by Jerry. How are you?
Hello, give a shout out to my girl Tiff who's listening to us.
Hello, Tiff.
She may be our best fan ever.
Well, she's not listening right now because we're not live, but
we're going to upload like instantaneously, Jeremy. And that's the third member of our party chiming in early like the dickhead that he is. Here's Jeremy on the other end.
Stick a fucking paddle up his ass and not the handle way.
That's the only way you can beat me.
And what better way to start another episode of DMV Sports podcasting with a paddle in the ass. I can't think of anything better.
Can I just say that in the one time I played Jeremy in ping pong,
he beat me.
I beat him. Of course I did. I haven't lost in like 7 years, but I will say this, that Jeremy and I were so into the game that it's when John Rourke had his surgery and Sheila came over and was telling us about the surgery. We couldn't have given a shit. we were so focused on the game.
We were like, hey, Sheila, it's game point. We got to win by 2. Talk to me later.
Hey, Sheila, I love John. I love him. But relax.
Yeah, chill.
Well, the fun part was dodging the chips flying off the paddles because they're all like rotten and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we played at Mitch's house in Legoland.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
nice.
But nice. It was fun. It was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's like a circus down there. He's got all that fun shit over there at that place. All right, so we are going to do our rundown for the evening. We're going to do the old compliment sandwich, and we're going to put the big shit burger right in the middle of our talk this evening. So let's start off on a positive note for a change. Can't believe I'm saying this here in February, but tonight your Maryland Terrapins, number 9 Maryland Terrapins, host Nebraska, and they are. They're playing really good basketball. They continue to win, and
6 in a row, going for 7.
Yep, 6 in a row, and the fact that it is February 11th and they are top 10 in the country means that they've done a nice job of maintaining an even keel in this gauntlet that has been the NCAA regular season, because everybody is losing right now in the NCAA. Right. So it's good to see the boys still,
for Gonzaga and I forget who else.
Baylor.
Baylor's okay, but Gonzaga never plays anybody. So
no, they're terrible.
Would still lose in the second round like they always do. Right?
Probably.
Not always do,
but so here we are with Maryland, and if you go back weeks on end, lots and lots of taking a dump on Turgeon, saying
Turgeon said, "Hey Jerry, go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
Hey, look who learned how to coach.
Yeah, really.
Don't worry, I'll reserve my comments for
after the next loss.
The pastry chef.
Yeah, right. All your vitriol will be saved up for our Caps talk later. But no, I mean, this Maryland team, again, the NCAA as a whole right now, it's so bizarre. You tune in and it can be a complete shit matchup on paper, and it can go down to the wire. Games can be high scoring. They can be a complete slugfest in the 40s or 50s. And no one is immune to the upset. That's what makes it so fun. But being fans of a team that is in the top 10, I know I am watching every game, regardless of whether it's tonight, Nebraska, or Saturday on the road against Michigan State. The reality part of my fandom says each game is going to go down to the wire. It's going to be close, and people laugh at me when they're like, "Oh, really? Nebraska's going to go down to the wire?" It very well may. That's just the nature of college basketball right now.
It shouldn't. They have no players, and they're not any good anyway. So,
like, they actually have no players, or
their top 2 players aren't playing, and they weren't very good before that.
Which is exactly why it'll be like a 52-50 game with.
Right.
3 minutes left.
Some guy we've never heard of is going to have a double-double. And,
Some guy that looks like Jimmy Chitwood.
Yeah, right. Sticks will get into foul trouble. Something will happen.
Some like Ukrainian kid or something like that.
Yeah, but
he comes off the bench smoking a cigarette with his Adidas.
No, but Maryland's put together now some impressive wins, and Friday night was quite impressive.
Hey, man, since January 18th, they have beaten Purdue. They've won on the road at Northwestern, Indiana, and Illinois, which was really impressive.
Yeah, that game Friday night was pretty good.
And they beat Iowa and Rutgers, which was not a great game by any means, but
nope.
It's one of the ones where I think good teams can play bad and still find a way to win.
And that's you just took the words right out of my mouth. This Maryland team in the past few years with some higher expectations, it appears that they've found ways to lose games in heartbreaking fashion, and now we're expecting them to find a way to win.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is where you want to be. They seem to be peaking at the right time, but they got to keep it going.
Yes.
I mean, they got to handle Nebraska tonight, and then they have Michigan State, then they got Northwestern again, and then they got Ohio State, Minnesota, and Michigan State again. So, their competition will probably step up a little bit.
Yep.
Playing in some tough places in the league, but they are peaking, and hopefully they keep getting better. What I'd like to see is come out from the beginning, get a good lead, be in control the whole game, win by double digits.
I would love that. I would, Jeremy, chime in here because you and I have we've championed the fact that they've got two of the best players in the nation. So you just ride them, but it would be really nice if Cowan and Sticks didn't have to play 37 and 38 minutes.
But they have to.
Yeah. Well, no, but for tonight, that's exactly the point. Get them down to 30 or so. Get guys like Lindo and Chol, give them a little bit of run, maybe,
Reese Mona, please.
Mona is another one. He can probably play 10 or 12 minutes and not hurt you on a night like tonight if you have a good start and can carry.
See, Reese Mona, he's one of those guys. I feel like if he showed up at like a drop-in game at Mitch's house in the spring, like I feel like I could hang with him, but then he'd probably drop 30 on me. I mean, that maybe look silly, but
that's how stupid we are as former athletes. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know he would own me. So
I mean, I can't even move laterally at all without my feet falling off. So of course I can't do anything. No, but you guys
be more
right.
obstacles
you
for him to
guys
get
are
through.
Right that I didn't think about that. They got to start thinking about conference tournament.
Yeah.
And NCAA, and they got to preserve some minutes.
They really do.
So if you can get your backup guys to come in and give you quality minutes, it's just going to help you.
And see, I don't even need it to be as deep as a Reese Mona or a Tomajic or those guys. But if you can have on the floor Ayala running the point, and you can have Sorrell Smith, and you can have Wiggins out there,
right.
and Smith gets instead of 12 minutes, he gets 22. That's perfectly fine with me now.
I'm telling you, when the season started, we were all talking about Cowan, Wiggins, Ayala, and that rotation that you really weren't going to have to rely on one person because you can have no drop-off. That proved not to be true as the season wore on. Cowan sort of picking up the minutes. But I think you guys are right. This is a game where you need to take advantage of some rest.
Yes.
And because you got Michigan State, and those guys are they like I said, what's the term I used? When you go down the lane, you need a knife. They have knives.
Yeah,
there are no easy buckets against them.
And it's the worst for me. It's the worst setup at Michigan State Saturday. It's College game day at Michigan State. This is the first time they haven't been ranked in so long. They've dropped a couple really tough ones, including a rivalry game against Michigan, and they've been a little snake bitten. But it's still Tom Izzo, and they're still tough as shit.
And Mark D'Antonio quit 2 weeks ago, and nobody wants that job because they're in the middle of some sort of scandal. I don't know what it is.
Something's going on.
There's he resigned abruptly, and people are saying no to left and right. I think they're going to call Jeremy next. But
I'll
vouch for him.
So that school needs some good news.
Yeah, they do. They do. But I tell you, man, I have so much respect for Izzo. He just reminds me of, he's a throwback guy. He's in that Gary mold. He's one of a dying breed where a lot of the big time coaches I just think are a bunch of scumbags. I love Izzo. Right. And he might be a scumbag. I don't really care. But he gives me that Gary vibe where I'm like, I like that guy, and his teams are tough as shit, regardless of what the record is.
But don't give him too much respect because Maryland very well maybe, and I believe is the best team in the Big Ten. If everybody's playing their A game, Maryland's the best team.
I agree. Feels good to say that.
In the last 2 or 3 weeks, that's all you've heard from any commentators is mostly, maybe not best, but most talented. And we want to see that carry through. And I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, I'm not looking past tonight by any means. But, Michigan State, I didn't watch much of the game against Michigan, but what I did see, they didn't look very good. So are they just in a down spot, or are they just not that good of a team this year? And I'm worried they're going to have a comeback, game against us. So.
See, Izzo's got the right formula. They're at home. It's College game day. He's going to lock us down defensively.
Well, anybody can beat Maryland on a. It's not like Maryland's invincible,
right?
Oh,
they're just peaking and playing the best they can.
Yeah, but so in college basketball, I think the formula when you are a little overmatched is keep the score down. Michigan State can do that. Take a page out of Tony Bennett's book at Virginia. Hey, we can't shoot with you guys, so you know what? We're going to take 10 possessions away during the course of the game. And then if we both shoot in the 40% range, we're both going to be somewhere around 50, 55 points.
And let's not, they're having a down year, but they still get good recruits.
Well, they still have Cassius Winston, right? I mean, that guy.
So let's
that guy can pop off for 30.
Let's not act like they have the three of us.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, they're tremendous.
To see.
And that's what I mean is he's such a good dynamic coach, and he's been down this road a million times. He's had teams that are up, down, in between. He doesn't get flustered by, a team like Maryland coming in. They're going to have the momentum of college game day, and it just sets up for a really big win for them.
If Maryland continues to roll, I think we're going to look back at the game at Indiana as the one where they got their balls.
Yep.
They gutted the win out. They had a lead. They lost it.
Let the record be shown that you gave me a shitty look because I didn't chastise Jalen Smith for his behavior at the end of the game.
Look, I think that was emotion. Obviously, he came out and apologized quickly, so it's actually not that big of a deal.
Right.
But you don't want that happening. But I think,
you're right. He grew his balls that day.
It's just the way they did it. They were up. They were in control. Things fell apart, and the way the season was going, they were done. Somehow, they found resiliency to come back, retake the lead, and win a close game at a hostile environment, maybe the most hostile environment in the Big Ten. And I think that is what gave them confidence, and they just started growing. Now,
I agree with you.
It all comes down. It all gets shot down if you lose to a team you're not supposed to lose to. So
right.
They need to start acting like they're Maryland and take care of business early, get a lot of people some rest, and then get ready for Michigan State.
Yep. Agreed.
No, exactly. And and that's where also what you want to make sure you see Saturday is no letdown on, obviously there's more chance of letdown against Nebraska, but you don't want to see that Iowa game over again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you're in the game and you lose to a tough Michigan State team at home, no big deal.
Yes.
You lose by 20, it is kind of a big deal.
You make a great point there because as Jerry was reading the schedule, even though it's not like a murderer's row of opponents, there's still a bunch of road games in there, and there's still a bunch of high-quality opponents. There is a loss or two in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Michigan State, this is the road schedule. Michigan State, Ohio State,
yes,
Minnesota, Rutgers. So, honestly.
Rutgers is unbeaten at home.
Right.
I think they're 13-0.
Minnesota's, I think, probably the worst of the bunch, but they're still whatever that.
They got plenty of talent there.
They're top 50.
But again, this is where we are. If you're special, you win most of those games.
Exactly right.
If you want to be average to, if you want to go and say, well, if we get in the second round of the tournament, we're okay. Then you can go 500 with that schedule,
right,
and you're sort of on point. So it's what kind of team do you want to be? Do you want to be a tournament team, or do you want to be a tournament team that goes far?
Exactly, and that's where I'm at. And that's why I think a loss or two down the stretch here is going to happen because there's good teams that we're playing on the road. But I'm with Jeremy. The way they lose, I think, is everything right now.
I don't want them to win the Big Ten tournament. I want them to win a game, lose, get out, get rested. Because I'm telling you, the teams that waste their energy in that brutal freaking tournament against teams you've played already twice, they know you. It's not like and they're it's a foul galore. Could you imagine playing all those games and then playing a team like Michigan State who's going to foul the shit out of you, and every time you go for a shot, you're going to get clubbed, and then have to turn around and play. Probably you'll be a high seed. You'll play some senior laden Hofstra team who can come out and fire, who's going to come out and fire threes, and you're not going to have any energy. That's my worst fear.
Yeah, no, that is a realistic fear that we've seen played out in the past, both internally with our teams. West Virginia's had that happen to them. Maryland's had it happen, and we've seen many other conference champions come into the tournament and really struggle.
Losing the semis, losing.
Yeah. Here's how I see it. First of all, you have to get the double bye, and they're on track for that right now.
Yeah, you're right.
So that means a max of 3 games. Not so bad. But there's things you can figure out. Let's just say they do make the final. If you make it, you might as well win it at that point. You got to play the game, right?
Win the whole fucking thing.
Only one thing to do. And so, but what you can do though is, in that second game, in those semis, like you're talking about, you know what? That's where you start resting guys a little bit. Go deeper. If you lose, hey, no big deal. But not only are you getting your tournament rotation down, because what we're hoping is they're going to be playing multiple times, 2 games in 3 days coming up.
Yeah.
Right.
in the big tournament.
Right.
So you know what? Get your legs 3 games in 3 days. Hey, you'll learn something about yourself. It's not the worst thing.
I think they've already learned something about themselves. They played 30 games already to then. I think it's about self-preservation. I'm not telling them to go out there and tank it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're Mark Turgeon, and I don't know if you have to make this call, but if you're going to play Cowan 35 minutes in an overtime game versus maybe not try to win not let your backups go in, save 10 minutes off his legs,
Right.
Especially if he's driving the ball in the paint, you could save that energy. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually one that gives up on any loss, right? So
No, you don't say.
But I've seen it enough in the conference tournaments where people win the conference tournament and then they go out early in the NCAA because they just don't have any legs.
No,
I mean,
I've definitely seen that. No, definitely seen that.
Think about it. You got to play. Where's the Big Ten tournament held?
I think it's Indianapolis.
Of course it is, right? So it's in Indianapolis. Then you got to go back to College Park, find out where you're going to be.
They'll probably ship us out to like Sacramento.
Then go out to like Seattle.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. You don't get any rest.
Play at like 10:35 on a Friday
Right.
night.
Seriously, against some
I hate
against
this
some
scenario.
team with 5'6" whiteys who have played together for 5 years. It's just the worst nightmare.
It really
Which
is.
everybody in the country is cheering for,
Of course.
right?
We almost had that happen last year with Belmont.
Yeah.
Remember that guy from Belmont put up like 30? It was ridiculous. I think he was 8 for 12 from 3-point range or something.
Seniors, teams with seniors and a core group of guys who've been together are fucking dangerous.
Very, very much so. And those teams don't have the miles on the tires that the big conference teams do with how brutal the
because
conference
those guys have
schedules
been
are.
rolling through their schedule.
And like Jeremy was saying, I mean, Gonzaga looks great.
Yeah, San Diego State's the other team I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah, that's right. San Diego State and Gonzaga are considered like 1s and 2s, but they don't scare me at all.
Oh, they're both 1s right now. Yeah. They're both 1 seeds.
See, I would be. Are they good? Absolutely. Could they beat Maryland? Of course they could. I would rather play one of those guys than Kentucky.
Oh yeah. Well,
Absolutely,
yeah.
Because those guys haven't been challenged.
Exactly.
Could you imagine? They're playing against lesser opponents when they go up against someone their own. Who knows if they can withstand? That's always been the Gonzaga St. Mary thing, right?
Yep.
It's always there's a team in Ohio. They always have high seeds.
Dayton?
No, it's I can't. But they'll always play someone like Maryland, right? They'll be like a 6 or 7 seed. Maryland will be a 10 seed, and I'm like, Maryland's going to beat them. And sure enough, I want to say Creighton, but teams like that, that are always the higher seed or have the higher seed in the second round. I'm always picking against them because they're going to play some big conference team who's been through the wars, and those guys haven't had.
You're going to play a Michigan State who falls to an 8 or a 9 seed,
right?
And if you're a 1 seed, you go, shit, I don't want those guys in the second round. I mean, it's a nightmare. Well, hey, I really hope that they.
Now I'm gonna freaking try to find that Ohio. I know it's an Ohio team, but they're always like pretty good, and my team always plays them in the second round, either West Virginia or Maryland, and we always win.
Speaking of which, West Virginia, they've cooled off a little bit, but man, are they good.
Well, they cannot win on the road at all.
Really?
I mean, they've lost like 13 straight road games.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Big 12 is no slouch on the road, though.
No.
You got to play at Kansas. You got to play at Baylor. You got to play at Texas.
Until you win on the road.
K-State, there's some teams around.
Yeah.
No one can take you seriously.
Yeah, it's a
until
good
you win on
point.
the road.
That's a good point.
That's what I used to say with Maryland. Until they win on the road.
And when you just read off those 3 road wins, I was like, damn, that's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. That Illinois win the other night was so great last Friday.
Yeah, because that was a really good atmosphere.
So, to the lead up to that, I was taking George to his hockey game, and on Twitter, they had one of the writers for Testudo Times said, we're here in downtown Champaign, and here's a billboard, and it was one of those like digital billboards, and I think it's called the State Farm Center is Illinois' home court, and it said pack State Farm, and it had tonight's game sold out, wear orange, be loud or whatever. They'd students lined up an hour before the game when the doors were going to open. It was probably the biggest game in Illinois against a top 10 team in a really long time.
They said something like 20 years maybe.
And the fact that Maryland went in there and just basically blew the doors off them in the second half is so impressive. Yep. So impressive. I'm really happy for the guys. All the times that we've shit on them, it's been legitimate, but it's nice to see them earn a big win. And I think that is kind of their stamp. And I'm with Jerry. I think that Indiana game, we may look back at that as being one of those landmark, get you over the hump games.
I'm talking about Xavier.
Xavier is
always, in the past, has been pretty highly rated, and they always flail out in the second round.
I think they made the Final Four a few years ago. But
might have. Yeah.
Stop stealing my thunder.
I certainly wasn't thinking Xavier at all when you were saying smaller school, because they're not that small. But
all right, so that ends the
How's
first
their football team.
That ends the first positive portion of the podcast. So go Terps. We are all optimistic. We're looking forward to it, and they're fun to watch right now.
Keep it up.
That's
right.
I'm
going to continue to say Mark Turgeon sucks, because that's...
Well, hey, 2 hours from now, I hope that I tune in for tip-off, and I hope that we just blow the doors off them, from the beginning to the end. That would be a nice home win by 25 or so. That would be great. The reality is it's probably going to be a 2-possession game with about 3 minutes left. And
so no invites to the game, apparently, I guess.
The reality is I'll be asleep by 9:30. And no invites to the game, but I'll be asleep by 9:30. So...
All right, so cheers, Turge. Way to right the ship, and let's keep it rolling, buddy.
It's a good
start.
Good start.
Yes, let's keep it going. So, speaking of good starts and not really...
Fucking Jeremy, I want you to tell me what's going on. We're talking about the Caps. I just want to hear it from you. What's going on?
Just not being safe with the puck. It's that simple. It's the same problems I think this team had back in the Boudreaux days. If
I was afraid you were going to say that, because I completely have the same opinion.
If they can,
scaring me.
Todd always preaches pace, and pace is great if you have the puck. When you don't have the puck, all you're doing is skating away from the puck.
We don't have pace. We don't have the puck. We don't have anything right now. Their pace is fucking shit.
Again, if you don't have the puck, you can't have pace, unfortunately.
Well, if you don't have pace, you can't get the puck.
That part I disagree with a little bit, but here's the thing.
The hell are you guys even talking about?
Like
they're playing slow as shit, is what I'm saying.
This team, back in those, the high flying days, their biggest problem was their gaps between the forwards and their D. You turn the puck over, it's always an odd man rush. Always.
Right.
That's something that Trotz and even Reardon as an assistant got them to just make that space a little bit smaller. Instead of 75 feet between the two groups, make it 60, whatever it might be. That way, if there is a turnover, you have a better chance of getting back, whatever it is, cover for other guys. And I just think that right now there's just too much individual play, not enough team play. And one thing, that, if anything, if there's any silver lining, it kind of shows, well, it really wasn't Holtby's fault. And I never thought it was, but, because, my buddy Alan May always talks about how it's not Holtby's fault. Yes, I said fuck you, Jerry, last time I talked to him. No, it's just, they just have to play better. I mean, I know that's simple to say, and I don't really have a great answer as to how, aside from maybe some fresh pastries. But, they just need to play better. It's really that simple.
No, it's you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just frustrating right now. Jerry, would you like to go on your rant, or are you a little more measured this evening?
I'm gonna keep it cool tonight. I got some stats.
Why?
Right, I got stats and backup. Usually, I just go off the cuff.
Somebody loses the puck and you punch the wall.
Is this Greenberg saying Ovi's never going to score any more goals? Those kind of stats?
No, I don't know him. But all right, here's what I know.
Okay.
Since January 1, they've had 10 home games. They have gone 5-5. They have given up the third most goals in the league at home at 35 goals, 3.5 goals a game. You can't win many games when you're giving up 3.5 goals a game.
That's pretty dreadful.
Opponents have been shooting more and getting more quality since Christmas. Basically, according to RMNB, the stats they threw out, that almost zero time in the offensive zone. Basically, they'll have some rushes but no sustained pressure.
So everything's banking off the counterattack as opposed to possession.
And I'd assume that mostly is the first two lines, because the fourth line's a pretty good puck possession line.
The third line's been pretty much dominant the last 2-3 weeks. So,
since January, Washington's opponents are getting more quality than ever, which speaks to those defensive breakdowns we've been seeing. Another way to notice this is the rate of high danger chances, yes, I'm reading, that opponents are getting. This is worse statistically than at any time in 2018 when the defense was so bad. So right now in January till now, this is the worst they've played in years in terms of defense.
Okay.
Nobody attributes it. Everybody thought the cause was Jensen, but in January, The defensive stats for Orloff, Gudis, and Siegenthaler have also been terrible.
Yeah.
Braden, part of that's because they don't trust Jensen and they're not giving him the high leverage minutes and they're giving the other guys. I think that's part of it.
Braden Holtby has been miserable. He has an 85% save percentage in his 6 appearances since the turn of the year, and Samsonov is down to 91%.
I was going to say
he's 3-2.
85 trounces the 75 Sammy had last night.
So here are the conclusions that I have currently. Both goalies have been victimized. There is no clear weak link on defense in terms of an individual player, and the special teams has been poor, continues to be poor.
Mm-hmm.
This, to me, suggests a systematic problem without an easy fix. That's the scary part.
That is what is frightening. And I was trying to come up with some sort of analysis aside from my normal boring X's and O's versus the emotional side of things. And I'm going to boil it down to this. I could be 100% wrong. I probably am. I think their neutral zone play is the cause of all of this. And it was poor even when we were winning. And we were winning because of the counterattack and because we have guys like Ovi to bail us out and individual efforts from guys like Vrana and Kuzi. We have single players that can change a game at the drop of a hat. And if you're not giving up many goals, then you give yourself a chance for that single player to make a difference. Now that we are behind so often, giving up goals at such a high rate, those counterattacks aren't as effective. Instead of being the scale that tips it and you're up 3-2, you need that goal to get it back to 3-1 or 4-2. That's a hell of a lot of difference. I agree with those statistics. I've been watching the games. We don't possess the puck in the offensive zone with regularity and in danger areas very often. And that is really, really concerning. And I think it starts in the neutral zone.
It definitely starts in the neutral zone.
We are way too soft in the neutral zone, giving other teams a break into our own zone. And we are extremely tentative in our own break-ins into the offensive zone. So we're left in this middle ground where what do? We're not grinding in the neutral zone. We're not going, you know what, boys, we don't have it tonight. Let's just fucking go. Let's get physical. Let's figure it out. Let's get out of the first period. Who cares if the shots are 7-6 and it's 0-0? That's a hell of a lot better than what it was last night. And we have too many games where the first period slaps us in the face like a wet, washcloth, and we're down 3-1, 4-2, and yeah, comebacks are great every once in a while, but you can't live off of that.
Well, neutral zone is the key, and it's because of where they're turning the pucks over. And,
yep.
It's one thing to turn it over after you enter the zone and you lose it deep, and you just recycle and go. And that's what was happening earlier in the season. You'd lose it, you maybe 50-50, you get it back on the forecheck, and that's where, on the other team's turnovers, then Vrana gets his chances, Ovi gets his chances, Kuzi, whomever it is. And it's just that they're losing the puck between the blue lines or even before that. And it's what I said before about the gaps. Guys can't get back to protect.
Yep.
And best case scenario, it's 3-on-2.
Yep.
And it's just, I think there's only 2 teams. There was I don't know if it was RMNB or whatever it was, but there was a chart of basically good play, bad play, fun play, boring play were the 4 quadrants.
Yes, I've seen that chart.
It came out again today, and it showed there's only 2 teams that were outliers in giving up a very high volume of high danger chances. Carolina and Washington were by far the leaders in those, and that's what we've seen. So that's where I test equals stats, and it's way too many high danger chances.
Yeah.
So the fault lies in 3 places. 1, 2, or 3. Either it's with the GM who didn't bring in enough talent, it's with the coaching who can't coach the talent and schematically get them where it's supposed to be, or it's with the players who are just playing undisciplined, or a combination of everything. What do you think, Todd?
Do the cop-out answer. I'm going to say a combo of 2 and 3. I've been a reared-in defender. However, I'm not going to be naive and think that I said it to you in text. We have the makings of a team that can make a deep run. We also have the makings of a team that can just be swept right out in the first round. And that starts with the coaching staff when you have as much talent as we do. With the fact that we're this far along in the season and I still have that worry as a pretty educated fan means that there's a glaring deficiency there. And a bunch of the guys really don't look like they're working right now. Their work rate appears to me to be very low.
What do you think, Jay?
Well, again, I definitely put it on the players, and work rate I mean, I think the effort's there, but it's not smart effort. It's guys are just flying around. They want to get their scoring chances. They, again, this is, you hate to, I'm going to go with a cop out of the doldrums of the middle of the season. And it's just like not enough guys care every night. Mm-hmm. And it stinks.
That's a good point.
But, another term I hate using, but it is what it is. And they've got, 25 games to get back on track.
Yeah.
I do think they will. But the thing that's also encouraging to me is, and they need to stop it pretty damn soon. But most nights the comebacks are ridiculous.
I know. I even thought they were going to win last night.
I actually didn't. I really thought they were going to. I thought they should have. At least, well, maybe not won, but at least tied it up.
Yeah. No, I had the same thought you did.
They were just they started playing well, and that's the thing. And that's the only thing that worries me now too is we haven't really touched on it yet. But Kuzi's injury. I don't know if it's going to be a day, a week, a month. I have no idea right now.
Honestly, I don't really care.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to flip it. So
I don't care right now. I'll care in the playoffs.
Correct. So here's the silver lining to all this through my eyes. Last year, Tampa went through the season completely unscathed. They had very little adversity. They had no losing streaks to speak of. But when you saw the stats that were underlying, you went, this team can be had. Like, they're a little soft. Again, their neutral zone plays very They're on a fucking heater the whole season. Well, when they went bad towards the end of the year and then into the playoffs, it went really bad, and they got swept by Columbus.
I remember.
Absolutely
we
swept.
Were here.
So when it goes bad, it doesn't matter. It's not like you're an NBA team and you got LeBron and he's going to bail you out and you're going to go to Game 7. When it goes bad in hockey as a team concept, you can get absolutely boat raced.
Yep.
And if the Caps are going through their self-reflection period now where something's got to change, give it to me in February when we still have 70-plus points and we're sitting in a playoff position. This is when you want to get smacked in the face by reality to come out on the other side. But the other side of that is, why does it take such a drastic fall from grace to have the self-reflection?
My fear is we're getting boat raced in games by teams we're going to play in the playoffs. We're going to play. It's not like we're losing to Calgary and to Vancouver and some team we'll never see, or some Western Conference team. We're getting crushed by Pittsburgh, Philly,
New York.
and New York.
Yep.
And we're going to see those teams in the first round of the playoffs.
All three of them?
Well,
that'd be fucking awesome.
And alternatively, any of them. But my fear, going back to the 1, 2, or 3, I think it might be the blame may lie with everybody. I think McClellan, who we have praised on this program, I think it's pretty clear now, after seeing what we've seen, that it was a mistake to let Barry Trotz go. And maybe he deserved the money that he eventually got from the Islanders. And because Todd Reirden, they've never excelled or exceeded expectations under him. Right? It's always been, they started off hot. They did. I mean, the start of the season couldn't have gone better. I have a theory about why that happened, but.
Well, you predicted it, so.
Well, I did.
There it is.
But I thought it was going to continue. I didn't expect this. I expected some adversity, but not looking this bad. I mean, it goes back to that Detroit game where they got crushed, and then they got crushed by New Jersey. Remember that 5-1 game? And it's like, well, I didn't see that happen. But anyway, I think that we're seeing right now that McClellan made a mistake. It wasn't just him; it was an organizational mistake, and I was on board because I didn't want to pay Barry Trotz all that. I thought that the talent would spit and would sustain, but I have real fear that Todd Reirden, for whatever reason, whether or not it's not smart enough, and I don't know if it's that, or if the players just don't respond to him for whatever reason.
Well, I would put 99% on the Trotz decision on Leonsis, not on McClellan anymore.
Whomever it was, it's a management decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it has proven to be an incorrect decision.
Yeah, looking back at it
was a mistake, and it may have cost them.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, if they go out in the first round again this year, I think that's an absolutely fair statement.
But that's where I'm going. I think they are going to go out in the first round because I think they have glaring weaknesses. The second thing is I don't know enough about the X's and O's of hockey, but I know in football that when teams and players get off to hot starts in the first part of the season, when they come back around and you get film on them and you can see how they're running their offense and how they're running the defense and what the quarterback can do and more importantly what he can't do, maybe that happened in hockey. Maybe the Caps got off to this huge start and the systems were working. And as you get more film on them, maybe there was a way that the other team scouted them and say, this is how we're going to attack them. Or 3, it may be just the players don't really give a shit right now. I think Kuznetsov, I can't tell you how disappointed it is watching him. And I'm uneducated, but even I can see when you're in your zone and you're throwing the puck right to the fucking middle of the ice and nobody's there. And now there's a 2-on-1, or you're flying into the offensive zone and you do this awesome pass that goes right to the defense and they're just scooting it back up to the ice. It's just, I've never seen so many turnovers lead to goals.
It's like clockwork. We turn the puck over, it's in the back of our net 9 times out of 10. It is amazing.
It's almost like I wish the Dale Hunter days were back where you just fucking dumped and chased. Just dump. It's the most boring shit in the world, right?
Don't wish for that.
But it's so disciplined.
So
coupled with, we don't have a goalie right now that can be amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure 90% of the teams have a goalie that can be amazing. I think Jeremy's right. It's not a Braden Holtby problem.
No, I don't think so.
But I don't know what you can do because you can't get rid of everybody. And maybe Gudas was a bad addition. Maybe the Jensen contract was a mistake, right? Maybe Siegenthaler's just not good enough. I mean, we have a tendency in this room to overestimate our players.
Sure.
We always do.
You always overestimate your own talent.
Maybe he's just not that good.
And all of that could be true. And if that's the case, then we're really fucked because there's nothing that can fix that right now.
There's nothing.
Because trade deadline wise, people are going, oh, we need this, we need that. Every fucking team in the league needs somebody. I got news for you. We're up against the cap.
The only way we get a top 4 defenseman is we give up somebody who has salary in it, like Verana.
Something's going the other way if anything of note comes in here. If not, it's going to be a bottom level depth type guy, and I think that's what you're going to see.
And that may be all they really need. I mean, keep in mind for the cup run, it was Kempney.
True.
True. And I think the big thing is, and just pile on what Jerry was saying, it's not about an individual. I'm going to the D here. It's about who you can slot where. None of the names we've mentioned, be it Gudas, Jensen, it's not like they don't belong at all. It's just they don't belong in that 4 spot. And that's what they've been searching for, and they haven't found it. And the chances of finding out the deadline are extremely slim.
Yeah.
So that's why they're playing, Faravari, see what he's got going on. Because you can't just get, a lot of teams try to go down to 40 in the playoffs. It doesn't work, in my opinion. You need to, at least at home, at least in the first couple of rounds, be giving the bottom pair 10 to 12 minutes.
I agree with you.
And against the bottom pair is not the problem. It's against that 4th guy. Who can you put out there with Orlov for the 20 minutes a night? Who? They haven't found it.
Of the problems that we have, and a lot of it's turnovers by, forwards or whatever, but does any of the blame lie with John Carlson and Orlov for maybe getting up in the rush too much, not playing disciplined? I mean, I know they want stats.
No,
because they're trying to drive possession, which is like what Todd and I have been screaming about. Possession is what you need. Those guys are. I haven't looked at the numbers. I haven't looked at Corsi in 2 or 3 years, but my guess is they're pretty high.
No, they drive the play, which is why they have to play that way. This league is built on pace and speed, and if you don't have puck moving defensemen that can jump up in the play, you're basically in the Jersey, Detroit mold, and you don't even fucking sniff the playoffs, let alone winning around. You've got to have somebody dynamic.
I looked at the game. Looked at the game last night, and I just looked at the score and was dying. But then I looked at the stats, and Ovechkin had 0 shots and a -4 rating. And I was like, oh, that's just – so it's obviously his line is getting worked. I know the plus-minus rating, that's overblown.
Yeah.
But that means when he's on the ice, the other team's scoring.
Right.
And if he doesn't have any shots – well, he's not hustling.
For me,
and maybe his freaking milestone thing is getting in the way. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, he scores in waves, right? He scored, what was it?
11 and 5.
Yeah, 11 goals in 5 games, and it's just so silly.
But Barry Zaluga in the post today said, well, they need to stop thinking about milestones and start thinking about wins.
Oh, they got to start thinking about how they're playing.
Idiot. I don't give a shit what that guy says.
So as I try and dissect the X's and O's and stuff, I come to this point as I'm watching. In hockey, you see a lot of teams that are marginally talented make deep cup runs. They might not make it all the way, but they'll win a round or two, and they'll be relevant in the tournament. The question you have to ask yourself is, are we hard to play against? And right now, if you're the Caps, they're one of the easiest teams to play against, both game planning and then execution. You see exactly what they're doing, and they're very easy to exploit right now. And that's the bigger issue for me.
But I just think, though, that they're exploiting themselves. It's the turnovers.
Well, either way, they may be the dumbest team in the league.
Regardless of the cause of it, they are very easy to play against. And until that changes, it doesn't really matter what we do on the power play or what strings we pull here and there. They're not going to fucking get out of the first round, like Jerry said.
Because you can just skate. I mean, I mean, if you're Pittsburgh, you're just going to skate around until they fuck up, and then you're going to take advantage of their mistakes and you're going to score. That's how Pittsburgh does it. I mean, other than their superstars, but it's usually a turnover or some stupid ass shit in the middle of the ice, and then they don't have anybody back, and now it's an odd man rush and leaving Holtby out to dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how you stop that, though.
Yeah,
you can't stop them from being themselves.
It's such a weird snowball effect, right? When we were on a roll there in November, I mean, it was like no matter what we did, it worked. And now it seems like no matter what we do, it doesn't work. And I'm with you. I don't know how other teams stopped us when we were on a good run, and I don't know how we get out of this rut when we're in a bad run.
Because it doesn't matter who you have in goal. If the other team's putting up 4 and more every freaking game, you're just not going to win.
And like Jeremy said, I mean, if there's just big chance after big chance from danger areas with very little resistance, I don't care if you're Brodeur in his prime. I mean, those pucks are going in. Yep. Now, with that being said, I would still like to see one of our 2 goalies make a save early in the game when we really need it. And I thought Holtby had that the other night against Philly. Would he stop Hayes on the breakaway? He had 2 saves on the same breakaway, and I was like, "Oh, here we go!" Yep. And then the wheels just fucking came off.
What I'm hoping is going out west is the best thing for the team.
Could be.
Just get out of town. You suck here. It's just bad energy. Just get out of town and go.
This is why I think Sverluga's a fucking jackass. It may end up being a problem if you go 4 or 5 games without a goal for Ovi. Maybe at that point. It's been 2. And what the fuck? I mean,
I think it's just
Ovi doesn't give a shit
how they've looked.
Yeah.
I think his point is that he's been chasing all these records in January, and they've been playing like shit, but he bails them out a couple times. He gets these big goals, and that's what everybody's talking about when they should be talking about the Caps have been terrible or mediocre to terrible in 2020.
They've been extremely mediocre. Since December 23rd, they're 10-10.
Yeah. So, I mean, what the fuck?
I'm with Jeremy. 2 games does not make a sample size. That does not worry me.
No.
10-10 over the last 20 worries me a little bit.
But again, I mean,
worries me a lot.
Yeah, at that,
that might be
still
who you are.
A point or 2 back of the number 1 spot in the league.
Yeah.
Not division, but
it doesn't
league.
matter how where you are. It's how you're going into it.
Yeah, they need to play their way out of this rut on a number of different fronts, like we just hit on, and I don't know what the elixir is. I don't know what the magic pill is, but something's got to happen pretty fucking soon.
What gives me fear and doubt is the lack of a proven coaching staff. I think they may be over their heads, and maybe I'm wrong. I was wrong about Mark Turgeon. Apparently, right?
No, for a day or 2 anyway.
So I mean, I was wrong about that, but maybe my fear is that they're getting out coached out, and the scheme's not working, and he can't get his players to buy into what he's trying to do. I mean, they keep taking, for whatever reason, I assume it's for trade purposes, but they keep taking defensemen out and putting. I mean, if I'm Martin Ferravari, however you say his name, I'm furious because either I'm going somewhere every day. It's like I'm going to Washington or going back to Hershey.
I'm not furious. I'm getting an NHL paycheck for a few days. That's pretty
exactly.
awesome.
No, that is the life of an NHL/AHLer when you're in that 7-8 hole.
But you take Jensen out, they still suck. You take Gudis out, they still suck.
Yeah, they're trying to. I will give them credit for trying to find different combinations.
Are they auditioning somebody?
Maybe, but again, just nothing is coming back of any note unless it's a splash with something going the other way. And the track record of this regime going back to McPhee and now with McClellan, they're not going to make a splash at the trade deadline.
I'm just telling you that the shine is coming off McClellan a little bit if he goes out if his coach goes out in the second round again. the first round for
And
2 years in a row.
and I think whether it was his decision or not, I think he would own up to that, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you're right."
Well, that's admirable.
Yeah.
But we can't have GMs making bad choices.
Well, okay. I love Trotz, period. But what, 20 plus years? Past the second round once? That's, I think calling him any kind of savior is a little bit, short sighted. There's a good reason for it. He won a cup for us. But, I think that, it's a little too much to call him the greatest thing since sliced bread. Not that that's what you said. But here's the thing. When he left, he could have stayed 2 under his current contract. I wouldn't if I was him. You didn't want him for more than a year or 2 longer. Coaches have a shelf life. His was almost over. It wasn't over, but it was almost over in Washington. And Reardon, I think that, I don't know if we'll ever know this, but I think there were promises made to Reardon.
Probably.
And it was like basically either you're going to be our head coach next year or we'll push you out the door to some other team to be their head coach. He was going to be a head coach in the NHL, period.
Yeah. I wish
It
he was
just
somewhere
happened
else.
to be here. So,
Well, we shall see. Look, they
There's nothing you can do.
no, and at this point, you're not making a coaching change. You're
No,
not.
you're not.
There's
some
nothing.
teams might. I wouldn't. I don't think it's the right thing.
Pittsburgh did it with Sullivan. So some teams
Was it
do
this late though?
No, of course. No, it was
I
early.
don't think so.
It was early.
The only
Tortorella's
one that
not
really
available,
did it was Lou back in the day. Lamorello fired Larry Robinson when they were in first place
with 8 games left.
with like 8 games left in March and took over himself, and then they went to the Cup final.
Let's get that guy going.
Oh, that's fucking legendary shit from
Cole
Lou
did
right
the
there.
same thing.
I think that I don't think
Maybe we could put Alan May on the bench.
Well, the Caps certainly aren't as bad as they've shown the last couple games, and likewise, they probably weren't as good as one of those awesome streaks they had in November. The reality is they're going to need to grind to get through the first round because that's the way the NHL is built.
You're right.
You're going to have to grind. I am fully anticipating a knockdown, drag it out 7-game series with some asshole team that I hate, and I hope the coin flip goes our way this year.
I hope it's not Pittsburgh.
It's going to be in the second round if it's not the first. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather be in the second round.
Yeah.
Because maybe Crosby's limbs will fall off and he can't go.
They'll probably still score 3 points.
I always wait with great anticipation to see what the next thing you're going to say, because you could go like flat tire to like appendicitis to his head's falling off.
Bazooka to the jaw.
It's always so good. All right, so that was our shit sandwich. That was the shit portion of the sandwich. So
Certainly
Caps,
was shit.
Caps.
I have more stats for the next segment.
So we will now go into some football talk, some American football talk here as we
Go Defenders.
as we continue here on Wings, Beers, and Tears. And this,
Cardell Jones.
so this past weekend ushered in what is usually one of the most dead sports weekends of the year, the week after the NFL. The XFL here in their second iteration really has a nice model that they've rolled out by starting their season the weekend after the Super Bowl, gain the momentum from all the casual fans as well as football fans, and
It'll fold in 4 weeks.
probably.
It'll get at least a
But it
year
was
or
pretty
two.
fun. It was pretty entertaining.
You know what? It was an entertaining weekend. Yeah. And to tie into our local ties here, DC Defenders, they played the marquee game of the weekend. They had the kickoff game on Saturday, so the very first game, Audi Field, where the DC United plays.
That place looked fun as shit.
It looked awesome, and from all the accounts, it was like a party. And what's brilliant about that stadium is they've got like rooftop bar type seating in multiple corners, so you can have a ticket and kind of like the Red Porch at Nats Park, you can just mosey on out and you can watch the entire game from the bar. It's more of a social scene versus watching a football game. And let's be honest, the product on the field,
Yeah, it's like a Division II football game.
yeah, I mean, it is all the cast-offs that don't make the 53-man rosters.
But it's still fun.
But it's still fun. And when you add in the element of a social setting like that in a city like DC, you have an opportunity to have some success.
I wish Dan Snyder would look at the field and say, I don't need a $100,000 stadium, 100,000 seat stadium.
He'd probably take a $100,000 stadium.
I don't think. I wish he would do that, because
Is he the one that got the job over you?
What an asshole. Dan Snyder, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
if he if you have a 60,000 seat stadium, everybody's sight lines are better.
Yes,
It's just a better atmosphere.
absolutely.
The logistics are better. The parking's better. The
Look at the
sound's
Hard
better.
Rock Stadium they built in Miami. The knock on that was, I think it's only 65,000. and they didn't want to have the Super Bowl there. They said it was too small. Well, it worked out brilliant. Great city, great stadium, great everything. Right. Indianapolis, when they built theirs, I think it's 62,000. The newer stadiums, I think even in Seattle, I don't think it's 70,000 in Seattle. I think it's like 68 or something.
Yeah, I think that's
they pump in
70,
and they pump in noise.
They do. But I mean, we're talking about stadiums of 10, 20, 30 years ago being built at 80,000 plus. Now you're taking almost 20% off of that and going in the 60s is probably a little bit more reasonable.
Well, back to the XFL, they're not. If they don't have players, it's not going to be sustained, right? So it's a good first weekend. By the third weekend, it'll be half the numbers, and it'll be in jeopardy. So I'm hoping it can make it through the first season. That's a successful.
I think it will.
Season. But in terms of football, in 2 weeks we have the combine. Mm-hmm. And that's like porn for me. I mean, it's just when you start talking about free agency and combine, that's for a Redskin fan. That's your Super Bowl.
That's the only thing you got. So
because you still have a chance.
So the Redskins have some interesting news that came out today and yesterday. One is that apparently on February 10th, Ron Rivera decided to have a conversation with Trent Williams. Not sure what he's been doing since he got hired, but. Maybe he's just been on vacation, but I think he's starting to work now. So they had a conversation, and apparently, according to Ian Rappaport, it was a positive conversation. I couldn't give a shit less. I think they should trade Trent Williams immediately, but that's just my opinion. And then Quentin Dunbar has announced that he is not going to go to OTAs, wants to be released and or traded.
By the fuck out of here.
He's in his last year. I don't blame him. He's in his last
idiot, but
he's in his last year. He is currently the 54th highest rated or paid cornerback, and he's a top 15 corner when he's healthy. So he deserves more money.
We go more like top 60, but
top 15 is a bit of a stretch in my opinion. He's a fine player. Whatever. Look, with a coaching regime change, there should be turnover. There should be some guys in the locker room that go, I don't want to play for this guy. Good. Because the mix doesn't work for everybody. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Rivera has said that in basically the same amount of words.
You're a starting corner on a 3-13 team, you jackass.
Yeah, but does that mean he doesn't deserve to get paid?
No, he's got a contract.
No, but he can do whatever he wants. I don't fucking care. I care way less about guys like that because to me they're not difference makers.
Yep. I mean, he was rated by Pro Football Focus as the second best cornerback in the league, which was, I think, ridiculous. But
in what league? In the XFL? Sure.
In the NFL. He had 6 picks in the last 2 years, which is pretty high. 8 passes defended in 2019. Like I said, he was rated very highly by Pro Football Focus. The downside is he's only started 17 of 32 games in the last 2 years because he had a nerve issue in 2018, which limited him to 7 games or 6 starts. And this year he was in 11 of 16. So his durability is a question.
Okay.
His salary ranks 54th among all players. The average outside cornerback makes $7 million a year. So
what's he making?
3.5 or so?
3.5.
Okay.
So if you gave him a 3-year, $21 million, he would be. That's a salary commensurate with just an average NFL cornerback.
Okay.
If you view him a little bit higher, you go to 10 to 12 million.
Sure.
Then you're getting in the top 20 range.
$7 million, and he plays half the games. 3.5 is perfect.
Good math.
So
that actually works.
I guess the consensus is you guys don't care if he stays or goes.
I really don't care.
I want him to be here, but the take my ball and go home bullshit. You know what? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
I don't care.
The whole NFL contract
basically,
structure.
he's not good enough to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically,
especially now. They're looking. I mean, he could be he's either going to be the poster boy for fuck me, no fuck you. We'll talk about it later, or just fuck you. Either way, and it's just it's perfect for Rivera's probably like who.
Well, they haven't even spoken to him about an extension, so I think that's a pretty good indication of how the franchise feels about him.
But Jerry is the key because apparently, again, just rumors. The old regime, they were set to restructure or redo his deal, whatever, to give him what he wanted. Well, that ain't the new regime. Old regime's gone.
Right.
The new regime is going to be like, we'll talk about it later. And so he's all bitter and whatever. Congratulations.
Well, again, I'm way less concerned about. We have people in place now that I think are
I mean, you could
professional.
probably get a fourth or fifth, Ryan. Wouldn't you think?
Sure.
I think fourth's about right.
Yeah, I think a fourth would be fine. But we have people in place now that I trust that, are they the saviors? No, nobody is in the NFL, but they're professional and they appear to be organized. So let them figure it out. Let them get their guys in under the cap, at the right positions and let them coach them up. And I'm just going to wait and see. I'm way less about, we need this guy, we need that guy. We're so many fucking players away from being a decent team. I'm going to let the guys that understand how to coach and how to put the organization together do it.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think you make any decisions based on 2020, but I already have concerns about Ron Rivera. I just do. I don't know why he's not working in the first 5 weeks he got the job. I don't know why he's just now talking to Trent Williams when if that's what you should have been doing day one. I don't know why you're not sitting down with your quarterback. And I mean, when you hear Ron Rivera talk, when you hear the offensive coordinator talk, you hear him saying it's going to be an open quarterback competition, and Dwayne Haskins better get in here and start working. So my guess is that the reputation of Dwayne Haskins is that he's lazy. Mm-hmm. He's not going to work hard. And he just assumes that he is the guy and his talent will allow him to be successful without putting in the time, money, and effort, or blood and effort. So I assume that's the message. But then you get Doug Williams, who, remember when I said you should have fired him because I think he's the leaker. I think he's a legend. I get it. But I think he's the one who will run his mouth to the media.
He's the mole in Big Brother.
I think he's a problem if he, because he will not stop talking when he says the coaches know that Dwayne Haskins is our quarterback. That's what his quote was. Right. He did then follow up by saying, but he needs to show it. And,
right.
And personally, I would like to see Ron Rivera say, he's my quarterback. I have trust in him. He's our starter going forward. Presuming he comes in here and does what I say. When I'm here, he's here. Mm-hmm. That's what I expect of him. When I'm not here, he's here. That's what I expect of him. If he doesn't do that, then we'll look somewhere else. But, I don't know if it's the right tack to take. I would prefer them to say he's my guy until proven otherwise. But apparently they're saying we'll see if he's my guy.
Right.
And that just...
Now, they're definitely taking the wait-and-see approach with him.
I just think you can mind fuck these young kids, man.
You can.
You can mind fuck them. And I know in a perfect world you want them to be tough and you want them to, fight through anything and whatever. But
that's just not the reality.
A lot of these guys have divas. And, I don't know if Jay Gruden didn't want to. I know Jay Gruden didn't want to take him. I don't know if he didn't want to take him because he didn't think he was that good, or if Jay Gruden said, I got 1 year to win. Don't waste it on a guy who can't help me win.
I think that's exactly what it was.
Exactly it too, because there was a third round grade on him, and by the scouting department, it was as simple as that.
Right.
If they had got him a third round, I don't think anybody would complain at all.
Right, but my point is that was he a third round talent or was he a third round grade on this team for what the coaches needed?
I think he's third round ready. I mean, it's like he's not ready this year. You can't put a first rounder. This team in this situation.
Again, we just the
worst
Redskins
thing
are
you
just
can do is bring in a quarterback that challenges him. That just stunts his development. I mean, he's not going to get better if you don't play him.
But what's the difference between pushes and challenges at that point?
No,
because push would be good.
Let's say you bring in Phillip Rivers, right? Just for hypothetical, right? You bring in Phillip.
Just a hypothetical,
right? God, if they did that'd be awful, right? But if let's say you bring in him, well, fuck. I mean, of course, Phillip Rivers right now, even though he looked terrible last year, is better than Dwayne Haskins, right? So the immediate satisfaction in return is going to be, well, we got to start Phillip Rivers because we can go 4-2 with him, and we'll go 2-4 with Dwayne Haskins, but you're stunting his growth by not giving him reps because, as we all know, when you're the backup quarterback in the regular season, you don't do shit. Mm-hmm. You don't get reps. So that's the worst thing long term. If they make any decision, Trent Williams, Quentin Dunbar, for next year, it's a huge mistake. They need to be making decisions for year 3 of Ron Rivera, not next year.
I'm with you 100%, which is why I seem completely disinterested about Quentin Dunbar because I don't think he's here in 3 years regardless. I don't think he's good enough to be a difference maker now. I don't think he's good enough to be a difference maker in 3 years.
And if he is, it's fine, but it has nothing to do with next year.
Exactly. Bingo. Right.
Well, you got to field players. You got to field a team. And if you let Josh Norman go, now you have no corners.
Which is why I trust these guys. I think they know what they're going to do. and they're certainly going to coach up whomever they have better than the previous regimes.
I just think that you got to be careful when you're messing with your quarterback's head.
I agree with you. My fairy tale scenario is he comes in and he says, we drafted him. This is our guy. He didn't really get much of a chance last year. This is basically year one with him. This is a new regime.
Right.
He's our guy. We know he's young. We're going to build pieces around him. We're going to do what we can to get this team to win football games now and also project to year 2 and 3 with Haskins. I would love that to be the scenario. That's not who you hired. Rivera's never going to do that.
It's a mistake not to do that, though.
Well, he'll never say that.
Right.
At least you won't see that in the public. Because this is what I see happening. I mean, everything, Jerry, you said about how they've treated Haskins, the new regime so far is right. But I want to see what happens over the next couple of months. Get through free agency, get through the draft, things like that, see what they end up doing. And what I anticipate, honestly, is sort of what you just said about what you wish Rivera had already said, I think will happen at some point between now and the start of August or whatever, July camp.
Well, I assume that if Dwayne Haskins takes it as a challenge and says you're going to be there at 7, I'm going to be there at 6:30, and you're leaving at 5, I'm leaving at 5:30,
right?
And we're watching film and I'm working out, we're doing everything, and I'm throwing on the field and all that stuff, then he will be the starter. My fear is that Dwayne Haskins is a kid and he's a diva.
Yeah.
And he's going to take it as, well, this guy don't want me, fuck him, I'll go play somewhere else. I don't need this shit. You know how I can throw the ball 75 yards.
Right.
And then he doesn't. Now what do you have? Now what do you have when you get to August and you have a guy who says, this coach doesn't believe in me and he's not my guy, I'm not his guy, fuck him. Now you have a guy who hadn't worked hard. Know what the fuck you're going to do. You already have a quarterback who can't play. It's getting paid $30 million or $20 million, how much Alex Smith is. You're going to bring in another quarterback and pay him?
Right.
That's just so fucking stupid.
Well, you nailed it last week. You've got to win in this league when the quarterback is on his first contract.
Yeah, I mean, the only option they have this year is to play Dwayne Haskins. Anything else is, from a cap purpose, just awful.
Oh,
it
prevents so many other needs because, like we said, this team just has a laundry list of needs and players and positions that they have to fill. And no, they cannot go and spend money on another quarterback. They just cannot do it.
So all of the draft shit is happening already. All the lies are happening.
Yes, right? Yes.
I read, and there was a tweet that said Miami's negotiating with Washington to go up, and the same next day it was Miami's negotiating with Detroit to go up. They love Tua, and I'm telling you guys that every time there's a good medical report on Tua, the trade offers are going to get better.
And the latest medical report couldn't have been better.
It couldn't have been better. Yep. But he'll be ready after the first year, play full go, and it'll be a full recovery. I think Herbert's going to shine at the combine.
Think so too.
However, they're at number 2, and you have Chase Young, and there's a thought that you already have so many first-round draft picks, like Cleveland a couple years ago had so many first-round draft picks on their D-line. You can't afford to take another D-line because you can't re-sign all those guys. I say, fuck that. If Chase Young, and now the stuff in Chase Young starting to come out. Now he's not as good against the run. Right. Now everybody's, he's a little bit overrated. You hear these anonymous GMs say he's a little bit overrated. I never trust that shit because they're just hoping he falls.
But like you said, I mean, the pre-draft is as big a soap opera as exists anywhere in this world. It's hilarious.
Everybody lies their ass off.
Yep.
Like, Chase Young's pretty.
It's like watching the show Suits.
I have him as the 10th best player in the league, and then he drops to you at 4, and you're like, Chase Young, you go pick him.
Right.
So I trust that the Redskins are going to do their due diligence. Pass rushers. Even if he's not as good as Nick Bosa against the run, pass rushers. Because the biggest problem with the Redskins, they can't get off on third down.
Nope. And even if he's not as good against the run, which he's apparently not.
Apparently.
Who knows? The fact that you've got Del Rio as your DC and you got Rivera as your head coach, if they draft that guy, they're going to ride him and they're going to get the most out of him. I really believe
right
that.
Now. I love trading down, but I don't think Miami's giving up their 3 first-round picks. I just don't think they are.
I don't think so either.
And
they're not moving up far enough to give up all 3.
They're not moving up to give up, and I think if you don't get that, then you don't do it. Because if you do have a generational pass rusher, you got to take him.
I'm with you.
You got to take him.
Yeah, again, we've said it over and over again, and I think it still holds. I think that, between what Young does at the combine or, pro days, whatever it is, and with what Rivera and Del Rio are thinking, we're making it way too complicated.
Yeah.
It's going to be an easy decision for them.
I think so.
I think so too. Unless the only if he has a character flaw, if there's something off the field, or you interview him, he just comes off as a douche.
Right.
It's like, is this guy going to be a problem for me? Is he going to be a problem during the offseason? Mm-hmm. Which there's no indication at Ohio State. Who knows that he's ever really been an issue? He haven't
heard anything.
Well, he get suspended for a game for like paying a movie company moved his shit for free or something. I don't know.
I forget what it was. But
Stupid ass thing like that.
It
that had nothing. I'm talking.
Insert stupid ass NCAA rule here, and
but I'm talking about drugs. Physical abuse on women, stuff like that. Stuff like, this might just be a bad dude. Right. Instead of somebody who takes advantage of the situation because he's Chase fucking Young and somebody wants to move his parents' shit. I don't know, man. I think you take the best player available that high because you can't miss.
I agree.
But if they offer the 3 number ones, wow.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, too. I mean, if they're not, then it's not a tough decision. You just say no thank you to any other offer. Really.
But other than them, I'm not sure anybody has the capital to do it.
I don't think so either. So
unless they're given this year's 1, this year's 2, and the next 2 ones.
Well, I heard something about Chicago offering maybe Mac in their first for the number 2 pick.
Okay. Well, that would be crazy, right? I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, that would be stupid for them to do that.
Is Mac just got a new deal?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting paid $1 billion. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that you want to take on that salary.
That's the thing. I mean, it sounds great, but it's like, well,
can they retain salary in the NFL? Sure, we'll take him for 50%.
Even with Alex Smith, the albatross of that contract, the Skins are in good shape financially.
They are, which is why you load up with as many young starters as you can.
I mean, that's what I would do. I would load up on what position, Todd?
D-line, corner.
What position do you need to target in free agency?
In free agency, tight end.
Amen. You need 2 tight ends.
Hey, I hear there's this guy in Baltimore. He's not getting that many reps.
When that shit happens, I am going to be on cloud 9 because I've called that trade makes the most sense of anything I've ever heard.
You know what? If that happens, we're going to do a video broadcast of this podcast. We're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to give you a little crown. You can sit in your throne, and that'll be Jerry's coming of age.
He's got to be sitting on the throne at the time.
Honestly, right now, I would take a 2 and a 4 for Trent Williams. Just take it,
or Hayden Hurst,
and be done.
Or Hayden Hurst.
They're not giving up Hayden Hurst, but I'd just take a 2 and a 4 for him. I think you don't need a malcontent, and he's a malcontent.
Yeah,
he's going to want more money, which is bad long-term investment.
See, I'm with you, and you said it about Dunbar.
This has nothing to do with getting because you got rid of your training staff. Now you got now. So if that's the reason, then he comes and plays.
Right.
They got rid of the coach. They got rid of the training staff.
But now this is all about what are we doing in years 2 and 3 with this new coaching staff.
Right.
It
was always all about money.
Always.
That was always all about money.
You always said it was.
Been saying that.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think you need him. I think he is he's mold.
But the beauty of this time of the year, when you are a Skins fan and you've come off yet another disappointing season, as you just said, Jerry, there is hope. There is some optimism. You have the second pick. For the first time in a long time, you've got some leverage and you have some reason to look to years 2 and 3 with a little bit more of a glow.
As Kevin Sheehan said today on the radio, he's worried that Ron Rivera spent the month on Dan Snyder's yacht, and now he's one of the cult. He said because you've had good coaches with good track records with militaristic style coaching come in and fail, and it's just because they're enamored, and they're enamored, and I hope he's not enamored.
Well, I think with each passing week, and we'll recap everything here on this pod, but there's every week is going to bring another layer of drama and more information and et cetera as these guys prep themselves for the combine.
Well, I think next week we start the combine prep.
I believe so.
On the pod, we should take 10 minutes to do a combine prep.
I like it. Jeremy, I'm going to put you on the crack research staff on that one.
Okay.
Jeremy better figure out how to fucking run the power play and how to get those dumbass Russians and Canadians.
We're putting a lot on Jeremy's shoulders these days, Jerry.
I don't know, man. All I know is I have real concerns. Real concerns about the Capitales and their leadership And I think only Alan May can save the day. So you got to take fucking Todd Reardon, take the pastry chef. Alan May would knock the pastry chef out in 30 seconds, maybe even 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Fucking hire me at the power play. We just be doing dump and chase. I don't even know if that's the correct term of anything.
Yeah, it is.
Dump and chase with Ovi and Kuzi the whole time. Yeah, that'll be a good use of their talents.
No,
Well,
I would
Kuzi
also have
dumps and Ovi chases,
I would also have Backstrom on the power play, hold it for 5 seconds every time.
Oh,
and just
perfect.
stand there.
Yeah, yeah.
Going back and forth. That would be my move. Because that doesn't drive me crazy.
Well, I hope that the West Coast swing is what the Caps need to get out of their funk a little bit. I hope the Terps take care of business tonight, and whatever happens Saturday happens. But getting another win tonight would be key. And I really hope that we're one step closer to knowing that Dwayne Haskins is our future QB and that we're really starting to get some pieces in place around him.
OTAs will be a big thing. See how
They're
he
going
does.
to be huge. They're going to be huge. So stick with us each week for this absolutely drama-filled podcast where we parse all of the offseason moves from the Washington Redskins. I know Jerry lives for that shit.
And we should talk about the Nats next week and how they have no lineup anymore.
Yeah, they're going to be an interesting.
They have zero power.
Going to be an interesting case study there at the plate this season, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So thank you for hanging with us this week, and we will recap next week and kind of do this whole thing again, and hopefully, like I said, our Caps are in a better spot, and our Terps are still winning. So let's go, boys.
All right, see you later.
Until next week, we will see you later. Wings, beers, and tears. Peace.
See ya.